Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Zhang. Here are some of today's top stories. Tornadoes continue to tear through parts of the central United States. More on the damages and impact. Live Nation is getting sued. The U.S. Justice Department accuses the ticketing and concert promoter of monopoly. UCLA's Chancellor testified in Congress about the anti-Israel protests. The campus police chief is also reassigned. First up, tornadoes continue to do damage in the central United States after leaving behind a trail of destruction in Iowa. A survivor in Greenfield, Iowa, describes her experience.
I've been over my granddaughter and was on top of her, and then it just come. And I was just praying to God the whole time, and then the ceiling fell down on me, and they were hollering, screaming, because everything was coming down on top of us. Scary moment. No one ever do it again. Just so thankful that we're all alive, all four of us.
Officials in Iowa confirmed that the tornadoes killed 5 people yesterday and injured nearly 3 dozen. 4 were killed in the small town of Greenfield, Iowa. Another person was killed when her car was blown off the road elsewhere. In breaking developments in Texas, a line of tornadoes ripped through the town of Temple yesterday. Eyewitness video shows damage to homes, businesses, and vehicles. The National Weather Service will be investigating the severity of the storm. Officials issued an emergency declaration in Temple. Thousands of residents lost power, and the schools canceled classes today. Meanwhile, in the New York City area, 4 major airports grounded the flights due to severe thunderstorms. In the highest hurricane season forecast to have ever released in May, National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration forecasters said today that the coming months may be exceptionally busy. 9 people were killed last night in Mexico. A stage collapsed at a campaign event for the Citizens Movement Party due to sudden gusty winds. Around 70 were injured. Presidential candidate Jorge Menez said within seconds, high winds tore apart the large concert-style structure without warning at the event in the city of San Pedro Garza Garcia. Video footage shows the structure suddenly falling forward into the crowd. The collapse sent politicians on stage running for cover and panicked attendees scattering. Menez returned to the scene of the accident after being cleared at a local hospital. The candidate said he was suspending campaign activities. He is currently polling in 3rd place in Mexico's presidential election set for June 2nd. The biggest ticketing website and concert promoter in the U.S. faces a groundbreaking monopoly lawsuit. The U.S. Justice Department and dozens of states today sued Ticketmaster's parent company, Live Nation.
Live Nation relies on unlawful, anti-competitive conduct to exercise its monopolistic control over the live events industry in the United States and over the fans, artists, independent promoters, and venues that power the industry. And we have filed this lawsuit on behalf of the American people.
The massive legal action alleges that for years, Live Nation abused its industry dominance to overcharge concertgoers. The long-expected lawsuit accuses Live Nation of masterminding a plan to stifle competition. The goal is to seek a jury trial and eventual breakup of the alleged monopoly. If successful, the case could lead to sweeping changes in the market for live events. Critics say the lack of competition led to various issues, including poor customer service, confusing pricing, expensive ticketing fees, and restrictions on ticket resales. In a statement, Live Nation called the DOJ's allegations baseless and said the lawsuit won't solve the issues fans care about relating to ticket prices. Taiwan is responding to renewed Chinese military drills around the island. The new president's office calls it regrettable and vows to continue defending democracy.
I will stand on the front line with all the brothers and sisters from the National Army to defend national peace together. At this moment, international society is paying lots of attention to democratic Taiwan. And while facing the external challenges and threats, we will continue to defend the values of democracy, protecting regional peace and stability.
The president's office says the Chinese Communist regime's drills threaten Taiwan's democratic freedoms and the region's peace and stability. Beijing says it launched the drills against Taiwan as a punishment for so-called separatist acts. It sent up heavily armed warplanes and staged mock attacks in waters around Taiwan. The drills involved Beijing's Army, Navy, Air Force, and Rocket Force. Weeks after pro-Palestinian protests took place at UCLA, the Chancellor testified before Congress today to address how the campus responded to the events. This includes reassigning the campus police chief.
UCLA Chancellor Gene Block testified before a House committee on Thursday about the protests that took place on campus at the end of April. He is one of 3 college presidents and chancellors to testify about how colleges responded to the protests and anti-Semitism allegations.
Being an American means sometimes being asked to tolerate offensive and even hateful speech protected by our Constitution. But there are limits. At UCLA, we draw the line when speech crosses into intimidation, threats, and harassment of our community.
UCLA removed its police chief, John Thomas, from his post last week. This comes 3 weeks after campus officials came under fire for the way they handled a violent overnight mob attack on pro-Palestinian activists. Thomas was formally appointed UCLA police chief in January. In a statement on Wednesday, Vice Chancellor Mary Osako said he has been reassigned temporarily, pending an examination of our security processes. NTD reached out to UCLA for a comment, but did not hear back by airtime. Thomas has been reassigned elsewhere. His position was not disclosed. Campus police captain Gaywin Gibson was named UCLA's acting chief of police as of Tuesday. Thomas and other university officials, as well as the Los Angeles Police Department, were criticized for their response to violence that flared at UCLA between pro-Palestinian activists and a group that attacked them late on the night of April 30th. Both sides traded blows and doused each other with pepper spray and bear repellent.
One of my friends has a massive bump on the back of his head. He just got whacked when he was up here. I mean, they were coming up here and just like violently attacking us. It was honestly something that I'm kind of annoyed at myself for not seeing it coming, but I just didn't think that it would ever get to this, escalate to this level where our protest is met by counter-protesters who are violently hurting us, inflicting pain on us when we are not doing anything to them.
Earlier this month, Jewish students filed a class action lawsuit against UCLA in response to campus protests. The students alleged the university enabled the protest and monitored it closely, resulting in Jewish students and faculty being, quote, fearful of their lives and safety. Nationwide, pro-Palestinian protesters on some campuses took over buildings. Almost 3,000 people have been arrested in relation to these protests.
Just this afternoon, clashes between police and protesters broke out at UCLA. Aerial shots show protesters and police pushing each other. This came just hours after Chancellor Gene Block told a U.S. House panel that the school should have been ready to remove last month's pro-Palestinian encampment immediately. More action and less talk is what senators and advocates want from social media platforms and U.S. leaders to prevent online exploitation of children. They spoke in support of 2 bills that were intended to support victims and hold tech companies accountable. NTD's Jason Blair reports.
Senator Lindsey Graham and Senator Dick Durbin, along with survivors and advocates, want stronger action to crack down on and prevent online exploitation of children.
Protecting children online is common sense.
We are real people. Children who are being sexually abused online. Our abuse is live streamed, and even after we are rescued, this footage remains online.
Senator Durbin is the author of the Stop CSAM Act, and Senator Graham authored the Earn It Act. Both legislative efforts seek to address the issue.
A year ago, Wall Street Journal reported that Instagram's algorithm had created a vast network of online pedophiles and was helping these offenders find sexual abuse material.
There's a sickness in America, and we're going to provide a cure. What is that sickness? Children, not just children, young adults, people of all ages, all sizes, all backgrounds, are exploited online.
Speakers said tech companies aren't doing enough. Some allege that they know of victims that have been brushed off by some of these companies, and some have had their cases kicked out of court.
Every day, big tech scans for malware and spyware and Hollywood's copyrighted content, but they leave child sexual abuse material to amass views and money.
The entire industry must do more to detect, report, and remove CSAM on their platforms.
Both bills are out of committee and currently awaiting to be considered by the U.S. Senate. Jason Blair, NTD News.
Earlier this week, the California State Assembly approved the operation of cannabis cafes. The bill continues to move through the state legislature. Here's NTD's BJ King with more.
Cafes where you can buy and eat cannabis products could pop up across California. On Monday, state lawmakers approved a bill that would allow cannabis lounges to sell food and non-alcoholic drinks.
AB 1775 authorizes existing cannabis consumption lounges and cannabis retailers to diversify their businesses by selling non-cannabis food and non-alcoholic drinks.
The bill, called AB 1775, is authored by Assemblymember Matt Haney, who first introduced the bill back in January.
The illicit illegal market is continuing to grow and thrive, while our legal cannabis market is struggling. Small businesses and local governments that want to authorize simply allowing existing cannabis lounges, which already exist in law, to be able to serve food should be able to do so.
AB 1775 is a reintroduction of Assembly Bill 374, which was vetoed by Governor Newsom last October, but Haney says that changes have been made to ensure the bill can pass this year.
The governor vetoed this, and we've been addressing his concerns. We've already taken a number of amendments to address the separation that needs to exist between where food is prepared, where employees are, and where people are consuming cannabis.
The Assembly passed the bill in a 58-6 vote. It will now head to State Senate and will require the governor's signature to officially become state law. BJ Kang, NTD News, California.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. Protecting your pet's health is important, but are current vaccines doing more harm than good? A veterinarian shares more on pet health care. Toronto becomes the first international franchise in the WNBA, and a NASCAR racer gets fined for punching another racer. Team USA fencers prepare for the 2024 Olympic Games. More on their current training. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Zhang. Protecting pets and society from the rabies virus is a good thing, but is the current vaccine schedule harming some pets in the process? NTD's Helen Billings finds out from a veterinarian.
Are veterinarians over-vaccinating your pets? Some vets are now suggesting antibody titer tests instead. Dr. John Robb, a veterinarian of 39 years, tells NTD that he has seen adverse reactions to vaccines quite commonly in pets, especially small pets, with some resulting in death. Dr. Robb, who took an oath to do no harm, suggests pet owners get an antibody titer test for their pet. This is a blood test that can measure whether a prior vaccine's antibodies are still present in the blood, indicating immunity. He explains why over-vaccinating your pet can be harmful.
It can kill your pet. I mean, I can't say it any clearer than that. These vaccines are very serious things. They affect the whole immune system, and when the immune system is awry, every system in the body can go awry. So pet owners need to be very concerned with over-vaccinating their pets.
His own experience with getting the rabies vaccine has proven that a vaccine lasts longer than what people are led to believe.
Now, I was vaccinated in vet school in 1983, and my titer, my antibody levels are still good. I'm talking one vaccine over 40 years ago. You see what I'm saying? The issue is, once they are protected, why do we continue to hit that dog with more vaccines that have no medical benefit but can injure the dog?
He says without a titer test to check for immunity, the vaccine alone can leave pet owners with a false sense of protection.
That show it that there were a number of pets who were up to date on the rabies vaccines who got rabies and died of rabies. But they didn't have a titer check, which would have shown they were a non-responder, didn't actually have a titer. They weren't actually protected. So you see, the titer actually protects, whereas not doing it actually puts more people at risk of rabies.
Two organizations, Titers for Pets and Protect the Pets, are leading a movement to introduce legislation in the U.S. to recognize rabies titer testing instead of revaccination. For more information about titers, you can go to titersforpets.org and protectthepets.com. Helen Billings, NTD News.
Switching over to sports, history is made in basketball as Toronto becomes the first international franchise in the WNBA. Meanwhile, in the world of NASCAR, a heated post-race brawl has led to a hefty fine and suspensions. NTD's Carlos Reyes has more on both of these stories.
Toronto is set to make history as it becomes home to the first WNBA franchise outside the United States. The expansion team, spearheaded by the Larry Tannenbaum-led Kilmer Sports Ventures, will debut in 2026. Tannenbaum, a prominent figure in Toronto's sports scene, is also the chairman and a minority owner of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, which owns the city's NHL, NBA, MLS, and CFL teams. With a $115 million investment, Tannenbaum expressed his enthusiasm for the venture, saying there's a growing recognition and profitability of women's sports. The WNBA Board of Governors unanimously approved the new franchise with a 13-0 vote, while the NBA Board of Governors voted 29-1 in favor, with only the New York Knicks dissenting due to an unrelated legal dispute with the Raptors. Toronto will become the WNBA's 14th team following the Golden State Valkyries debut next year. Teresa Resch, a former Raptors executive, has been appointed president of the new franchise. The team will play at the historic 8,700-seat Coca-Cola Coliseum at Exhibition Place, also home to the AHL's Toronto Marlies. Plans are in place to upgrade player facilities at the venue, and occasionally the team will play at the larger Scotiabank Arena. The team name is yet to be decided, with franchise leaders intending to involve the public in the selection process. In the meantime, the team will train at the University of Toronto's Goldring Centre for High Performance Sport until a dedicated practice facility is completed. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert praised the enthusiastic reception of women's basketball and anticipates further league expansion, projecting 16 teams by 2028. In a dramatic turn of events after Sunday's All-Star race at North Wilkesboro Speedway, NASCAR driver Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has been slapped with a hefty $75,000 fine for punching fellow driver Kyle Busch. The brawl erupted after Busch's number 8 Chevy bumped Stenhouse's number 47 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 on lap 2, knocking him out of contention. With no exit tunnel at the track, Stenhouse stewed in his anger for the remaining 198 laps. As the race concluded, tension spilled over into the garage area. Stenhouse confronted Busch and after a brief heated exchange landed a right hook to Busch's face. The altercation quickly escalated with crew members from both sides jumping in, leading to a chaotic scene. NASCAR Senior Vice President of Competition Elton Sawyer announced the penalties on Wednesday. In addition to Stenhouse's fine, his team mechanic Clint Myrick has been suspended for the next 8 Cup Series races and tuner Keith Matthews for the next 4. Richard Stenhouse, Ricky's father, has also been indefinitely suspended, all for violations of the NASCAR Member Code of Conduct. In a post-fight interview, Stenhouse alluded to a long-standing feud with Busch, mentioning a previous incident at Daytona that seems to have fueled their rivalry. Carlos Reyes, NTD News.
Team USA fencers are preparing for the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. They're currently training at the New York Athletic Club.
Team USA fencers gathered at the New York Athletic Club on May 21st to speak to the media and show off their skills ahead of the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Members of the men's saber and women's épée teams lunged, riposed, and parried as they prepare to put years of preparation to the test in less than 70 days.
Definitely extremely excited. It's been like a dream come true. It's been something that I've aspired to for my entire life.
The feeling's been pretty unreal. I never thought I would have been to make the 2024 Olympics. I think my goals were more set on 2028, but I'm just really happy I made it.
Fencing is one of the oldest sports in the Olympics and features 3 disciplines, épée, foil, and saber, each of which contains its own distinct weapon and set of rules. There are 12 fencing events during the Olympics and Paralympics, including men's and women's individual and team competitions across all 3 disciplines.
I think it takes quite a bit of mental fortitude. That's true in any sport, but it sounds, from what I've heard, again, my first experience, but it sounds like, especially being in Paris, especially having that be the birthplace of fencing, I think there's going to be a ton of spectators, a lot of media attention. It's going to probably be really loud in the venue with the people supporting. So I think being able to quiet out all that noise and focus on the opponent in front of you and the goal at hand is going to be the people who are able to perform at the highest level on competition day.
The fencing bouts in Paris are scheduled to run from July 27th to August 4th at the Grand Palais. A total of 212 fencers will compete across 12 medal events.
Coming up next, stay tuned for China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer. Beijing is going all out to train a state-owned AI chat robot, aligning with the theories from Xi Jinping, the Chinese Communist Party's top leader. What are Xi's ideology all about, and how could this chatbot impact China and the world? More on China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And that's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.